Hi y'all, Kraken Latte here. It's that time of the week again where I bring you some random fact that may or may not be helpful right out of my back pocket. That's right, this is a Kraken fact. Did you know? LFR, which stands for Looking for Raid, is the dungeon finder tool for raids specifically. Just like how you can queue for a random group for some dungeons when leveling, LFR is the max level version for raids. But unlike dungeons, which can still be queued for through the dungeon finder tool after an expansion is over, LFR is special. You have to go to a specific NPC to queue for an LFR that is not in the current expansion. On top of that, each wing is still separated and treated as a separate instance, so I'll cover which one is for what raid, since it isn't completely obvious if you didn't do the raid during that expansion. And the best part is all of this can be queued for solo, so you don't have to bring a group to get in. We'll go by oldest to newest, so we're starting with the first Looking for Raid edition ever, Cataclysm's Dragon Soul. This is the only raid in Cataclysm that has an LFR option, and so if you take the portal to the Caverns of Time, head down to the Dragon Soul raid entrance, and you'll find Aridormi, which is the NPC you need to talk to. She's right in front of it. This raid has two wings, which are the Siege of Wyrmrest Temple and the Fall of Deathwing. The separate wings means when you finish all the bosses present in the first one, you have to leave the raid group by right-clicking on the little raid finder eyeball and selecting Leave Instance. Then you can queue for the next wing and do all the bosses in that one. It's good to note that LFR has a weekly lockout like other raid difficulties, which means you can only get loot from each boss once a week per character. If at any point you're not sure what raid has what bosses, pop open your raid journal, find that raid, and you can scroll through the encounters there. Mists of Pandaria is the next one. To queue for these raids, head to the Vale of Eternal Blossoms in Pandaria, and go over to the Lorewalkers area between the two shrines. Inside here stands a line of male Pandarian NPCs who let you queue for various things. Lorewalker Han on the right is the LFR NPC you need. Talking to him opens up the list of all the wings for all the raids in Pandaria. The first two options on the list, Guardians of Mogushan and the Vault of Mysteries, belong to the Mogushan Vaults raid. The next two options on the list, the Dread Approach and the Nightmare of Shagzir, belong to the Heart of Fear raid. The Terrace of Endless Spring is for its own raid since that one's a shorty. The Last Stand of the Zandalari, Forgotten Depths, Halls of Flesh Shaping, and Lei Shen's Pinnacle of Storms are all for Throne of Thunder. Then, the last four wings, the Vale of Eternal Sorrows, Gates of Retribution, Underhold, and Downfall of Garrosh Hellscream, all belong to the Siege of Orgrimmar raid. Moving on to the Warlords of Draenor expansion, the NPC you need is in your garrison. Seer Khazal is the same orc for both Horde and Alliance, and he'll sit right next to the boombox in both faction garrisons. This expansion's LFR wings are labeled much better, as each one has the name of the raid right in it. The first three belong to Heimal, the middle four to Blackrock Foundry, and the last five are all for Hellfire Citadel. Seer Khazal here, this NPC, will only show up though if your garrison is at least level 2. And now for Legion. The NPC you need is Archmage Timiar in the Broken Isles Dalaran. He's in the same plaza as the Violet Hold dungeon, and it looks like we're back to the poorly labeled wings, so let's list them off. Darkbow, Tormented Guardians, and the Rift of Ulm all belong to the Emerald Nightmare raid. Arcing Aqueducts, the Royal Athenaeum, Nightspire, and Betrayer's Rise are for the Nighthold raid. Trial of Valor is for its own raid since it's a short one. The Gates of Hell, Wailing Halls, Chamber of the Avatar, and Deceiver's Fall each go to the Tomb of Sargeras raid. And then the last few, Light's Breach, the Forbidden Descent, Hope's End, and the Seat of the Pantheon all belong to Antorus the Burning Throne. Now we move into Battle for Azeroth. The Horde and Alliance have two different NPCs. For Alliance, we have Kiku, a Tortollan who sits just to the right inside the inn in Borealis. And then for Horde, we have Epu, a Tortollan who sits on the second floor of the northeastern part of the Great Seal in Dazara Lore. Both of these Tortollan queue for all the wings of the Battle for Azeroth LFR, so let's look at which ones go where. So for the first 3 wings here, we have the Halls of Containment, the Crimson Descent, and the Heart of Corruption. Those are all for Uldir. The next 3 are for the Battle of Dazar'alor, which are Defense of Dazar'alor, Death's Bargain, and Victory or Death. And then the one after that is quite obvious. There's only 1 wing for Crucible of Storms, and it's named Crucible of Storms, so very short raid. The next 3, the Grand Reception, Depths of Devoted, and Circle of Stars, are all for the Eternal Palace. And then the last 3 after that are the Vision of Destiny, the Halls of Devotion, and the Gift of Flesh. Those are all for the Ny'alotha, the Waking City raid. And there we have it. If you think I've missed information, or you want to request I do a specific guide, let me know in the comments below. Even if I don't answer you, I just might add your idea to my list. As always, thank you so much for watching, and remember, it's never too latte.